You're now listening to the Something Good Podcast Network. Please press any key to continue.
A kiss, as defined by Dan Webster, is something pleasing, a caress, a gentle touch. But there's another kiss that isn't in Webster's.
Hey world, we're kids!
Some critics say they don't make music, they just make noise.
Yeah, Kiss sucks!
Kiss implies the extreme in the theatrics on stage, utilizing fire and smoke and bizarre costumes, and the ever-consistent, constant concealment of their true identities.
Speaking of which, Kiss is going to have its own comic book soon.
Take Kiss with you. It's fun. Show your friends and be the first. Now.
Oh my God, no time to turn!
Welcome once again to No Time to Turn, a Kiss Nerd podcast.
Nerds.
Rock and Roll All Night podcast every day.
That's right.
Right on. I like that.
Unfortunately,
has that been taken?
By Chris Jericho.
Oh, fuck Chris Jericho, man! Stealing our shit after I stole it from him. This is we're in our deep dive of sorts of the solo albums, the phenomenon of the
part
solo
3.
albums. With I should say we formally with Cap and Alex from the Something Good For You podcast. As always, hopefully you are keeping up with this. I guess this is we've lettered these episodes, so this is episode C.
Yeah.
And we are going into the oddity of Gene Simmons' solo album.
That's right.
That's the putting it lightly. And check out the Ace Frehley and the Peter Criss episodes if you haven't already.
And which, the Peter record kind of links to this one in kind of an outside way.
Yes.
He's using a lot of the same session guys on this.
Right.
And he also used the Manor. Wasn't that where we were saying that Peter recorded his record also?
No, I don't believe
sorry.
so.
See, Peter recorded his in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I got that conflated with Aces. He recorded at the Mansion.
He recorded the Colgate Mansion.
Yeah,
but no.
the Manor. That's my
Gene
bad.
recorded this at a place called the Manor in Oxford, England. Mm-hmm. And flew everyone over there to do this.
It was him and Sean Delaney at the helm.
Sean Delaney is producing this, which I think is very telling. And I think, all things considered, if you look at this record, I think this is more of a Sean Laney album almost.
Right.
I mean, it's Gene's material, but I think Sean's the one that fleshed it out, built the arrangements. I mean, this is really saying a lot for Sean Delaney, in my opinion. But
right.
Since we've going for brevity on these episodes, I guess we'll just jump in and start going this track by track.
Well, I mean, do we want to go through the session musicians?
Because, sure, yeah,
because he has a lot of personnel on this record. He has a lot.
Well, now some of these, I don't consider the session musicians as being the guest musicians.
No. Yeah, yes, there is a big distinction.
The core group of session guys. It's Elliot Randall is playing guitar from Steely Dan, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And then Neil Jason.
Neil Jason's on bass. Now these guys were on at least on some of the tracks on Peter's album. Alan Schwartzberg on drums.
And Gene does not play bass on any of these tracks, by the way.
I was going to say, Gene doesn't play any instruments on this album. It's all just him vocals.
No, he plays the guitars too, like rhythm guitars.
I think he's credited, but from what I understand, well, okay, we got to, hearsay after the fact. But Sean Delaney says none of Gene's tracks are on these records. He might have did some guide stuff, but none of it survived.
Okay, so at least through Gene's reaccounting, through his book, he says that he wanted to showcase that he was more than a bassist, so he played the guitars on this record.
Yeah, but
so the way he phrases it is rhythm sections and stuff like that on guitars is him.
Sean said
but then like
survived.
Special solos.
But who knows?
If you ever watched Gene Simmons play guitar, it's atrocious.
Yeah, so that's kind of basically what Sean did. And, I think I trust Delaney's recollection on this because I think it's not like it was a F Gene thing. He's just clarifying the point.
Yeah,
and I think Sean Delaney was probably bitter, but I think. So some of his claims are kind of dubious, but I think, this seemed like it was a very matter-of-fact thing. It wasn't like because Gene wasn't good enough or whatever, but his point was when you got people like Elliot Randall, why, or Jeff Skunk Baxter.
I was going to say,
why would you have a Gene Simmons track?
Exactly.
So,
well, I can play solos. Well, you also have Joe Perry.
Yeah. I don't think Perry plays a solo on this. He plays and a lot of this stuff. Like, I think we just mentioned Skunk Baxter. I don't think any of his stuff survived on it.
Well, Joe Perry's credited for Radioactive and Tunnel of Love.
But I don't think... We'll see. We'll talk about this when we get to Tunnel of Love. There's multiple guitarists that get credit on that. From what I understand, I think we know who actually did it. So we'll get to there. But again, so Elliot Randall, Neil Jason, Alan Schwartzberg. One thing about Neil Jason's bass playing, I noticed he has this bass snap, string snap thing that he does. Sean Delaney recorded an album around the same time using these same guys called Highway, and it sounds more like Peter's record, but it has all that same, those stylings. You can hear it if you listen to it. You hear right away. Oh yeah, this is like Gene and Peter's record. You can hear those guys, because I think it were probably done at, well, maybe even the same sessions. I don't even know, but
a lot of R&B and a lot of funk on this record too. With especially with the bass playing.
That. So, do you got anything else about background here? Because
no, I'd say just a quick rundown of the major guest appearances, or do we want to talk about that with each song? Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, so let's go ahead and bust on in. First one, Radioactive.
Well, it starts with that intro, that weird intro. It's kind of like, where did they come up with that?
There's a lot of weird moments like that all over this record that are just so unnecessary.
Well, I joked about it in the previous episode of sounding like a bad Alice Cooper record, and that, I'm being facetious. I really enjoy this record, I do, but these weird things, it's like, it almost like it doesn't match the song it's going to go into, but it starts off sounding like the soundtrack from a horror movie.
It's just random.
And this was written by a guy named Ron Frangipane, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I guess this guy was also the connection with Janice Ian, and he brought her in, the folk singer Janice Ian, and she's singing the Hosanna part.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's Sean Delaney that's doing the Sanctum. And I don't know how much, if any, input Gene has on this. This, again, feels like it's a Sean Delaney idea, and, he's put this together.
I don't know.
In conjunction with Ron Frangipane, or Pine, or whatever his name is. Frangipane, sorry, if he's hearing this, which I'm sure he's not.
But Gene was this guy's name. But Gene was the horror movie buff in the group, right?
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, I'm sure he was cool with it.
My personal opinion is this feels very Gene. Like, after you read his book and you kind of get a vibe for who he is, you watch Family Jewels, you kind of, and you pay attention to the other weird shit he's done, and then especially listening to his vault and all the random things that he's kind of demoed throughout the years. I really feel that this is Gene on a record really doing what he wants.
I'm talking about this intro.
Even the intro.
Because he didn't write it.
No.
I think this is 100% Sean Delaney idea. I think he did this all. He went off on his own and had this part and said, look, I got this. And Gene was like, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe because at the same time, this is jumping way far ahead, but I mean, it was Gene's idea to do When You Wish Upon a Star. And that feels so opposing. We'll get to that, but...
now that I agree with. That's a Gene thing.
Yeah, because we know the story on that, which we'll get to. But it feels like Gene would also go, well, yeah, let's start the record off like an old horror movie.
Yeah, he may well have.
Yeah, so that's at least my opinion on it.
And it's a weird jump, though. It goes right into this tight little rocker.
Yeah, this is really upbeat. And
it's definitely the most rocker song on the record.
Yeah.
And again, it's the only track that Kiss ever played live from this record, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but this isn't as hard-edged.
Technically.
Okay. Technically, what you mean by that?
Well, you're going to go into the
MTV Unplugged.
Stuff. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See You Tonight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that.
But this isn't as hard-edged as Kiss music.
No.
And nothing on this record is.
No, I was going to say, much of this, like the Peter record, this does not sound like a Kiss record at all to me.
It has sort of, to me, a Seeger-esque vibe,
a little bit,
which is interesting because Bob Seger's actually on this track. Mm-hmm. I think and I'm not 100%. It seemed like I've only seen this one other place. They have him as backing vocals, but I think he's basically duetting with Gene. I think he's the second voice on this.
Yeah.
All the way through. All the
double vocal or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to listen to that again now with that context.
It seems like it to me. I can't say that definitively, but
I can see what you're
I've had
talking
it in
about,
my
though.
head, and I don't know, because I have it in my head, I can't hear it any other way. But
I
once
will say
have
the
it
chorus
there,
does
I
feel a
can't
little
unhear it.
bigger between the radioactive.
But I think it's a great song.
I think it's the best opener he could have picked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
Because we discussed with the last two if those were good openers. Because Rip It Out is a fantastic opener.
Yeah,
but I think this was served very well as with the tracks given
with what he has. Yeah. But no,
I think Radioactive is probably the most cohesive rock and roll song. There's other upbeat songs in there that I also like, but this is probably the closest to Kiss he gets.
Look up for me for a second. I should have this. Is there any co-write credits on any of these songs?
Yes, there is.
Because I'm going to say there's got to be some Delaney on this.
Sean Delaney and Howard Marks on Living in Sin.
Yeah, Howard Marks gets a writing credit.
Well, he only gets credit because he came up with he had the throwaway line "Living in Sin" out of Holiday Inn.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's the only song aside from the cover at the end that has a co-write, which is Delaney and Howard.
Okay,
which is
because all of this seems like to me would have Sean Delaney in it somehow, but I would think he by then was smart enough to get his writing credit, so maybe not.
A lot of versions of these songs are on the vault, and even in demo form, like "Burning Up with Fever," you hear like it. The things that Sean added was like the big chorus of, let's go ahead and move to, well, Cap didn't share really his thoughts on Radioactive. We'll get to that first.
I mean, I agree with all of y'all's points on Radioactive. It's probably it's my top three on this record for sure. And it's like the most upbeat rocker. And I like the little bass walk that happens in the end too. Neil Jason does.
I think the solo in it's kind of almost underplayed. Mm-hmm. It's not it's just I mean, it
like
serves,
the big hook is at the end with the but that's like the very last bar of the solo.
All this feels, again, going back to what we talked about with Peter, it's like with these songs feel like they're riding one foot on the brake.
Yep, I definitely see it with that song.
He's trying to show that he doesn't have to do barn burning rockers. He's gonna we'll see this as we go on.
He's diverse, man.
Before we get into Burning Up with Fever, though, you have that classical guitar interlude.
Yeah, like with the weird count leading up to it.
Yeah, the big count, and then he goes in.
1, 2, 3, oh.
And then shitty guitar.
And then it's got that little classical guitar thing. And it's weird. It's like,
he also says something in between one of them.
He says something like melody.
Yeah. He's very low under his breath.
It's like, why?
It's
why
cringy
is this
almost. Exactly.
Well, I mean, it's just like, why? Because I could see, like, with Gene, Gene's a teetotaler. I could see everybody else being like, they're coked out to the gills and they're gacked and they're like, we're going to do this. Yeah, this will be great, man.
Play guitar.
There it is. And it's like, and maybe that's what happened. And Gene was just like, fuck it. I don't have time to argue this.
But Burning Up with Fever. This is one of the songs I remember from the vault, and the only thing it really didn't have was the big chorus of the "Burn It Up" with the background singers. It was him just kind of being a little bit more chill with it, but it still had that that same kind of bounce and vibe to it.
This is a good hard funk number.
Yeah,
I think
it's fun.
And it's got it's a great riff, and
that's some strutting down New York City background music.
Yeah. But and Donna Summer's vocal on this, I mean, she's just flat out killing it.
Love it.
Donna Summer was badass. If you're into that kind of shit, I mean, there's a funny story that I came across last night where Sean Delaney said that her boyfriend was German, or her boyfriend / manager at the time, I guess, and she could speak German. Well, Gene could speak German too, and so could Sean Delaney. A lot of people, I guess, don't know this. and she didn't know it, and she came in saying some rude shit in German, like she's speaking confidentially or whatever, and he turned around and zipped her in German, like, hey, if you're gonna say it, you might as well say it in English. You know? And after that, everything was cool.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, which kind of gives me the idea. I wonder if she came in on this with some attitude, like, "Oh, great, now I got to do a Kiss record." Like,
She was part of the Casablanca.
She's part of the Casablanca thing, but I mean, you know,
and she was like wanting to move away from Motown and kind of start doing her own thing a little bit.
Well,
and it's
she was doing her own thing. I mean, that when you know her single that we talked about previous, "Love to Love You Baby," was the other foot that fell that saved Casablanca in '75.
She was red hot at the time.
She was every bit as vital, important, and as popular as Kiss was in 1977. Just on a different audience on a different level. But I'm telling you, from being, you know, I can remember back in the day. I mean, Donna Summer was fucking huge.
I bet.
Huge. And, you know, it's cool that she's on this, and like I said, she's absolutely killing it, and it fits. Everything fits. And, you know, this is something that Gene's doing surprisingly well, because it seems like a little bit out of his wheelhouse to be doing that kind of hard funk thing, because as we'll see in this next song,
I think it kind of I don't know, we see elements of it. Think about like Almost Human. That almost has a little bit of it. Like you can see the
but I don't think it's near as good as, maybe it's also the band.
I think it's the bass playing and everything too.
They're able to execute this much more effectively than say Kiss could,
because it still has that Led Zeppelin single note, you know, strut riff thing that they do on, like,
we've talked about like how Kiss can do, you know, a lot of their stuff could be kind of like, you know, construed as influenced by R&B, you know. So I can see that to a degree, but it works better, I think, in the hands of like Peter or Paul than Gene, you know. But maybe it's also the persona of Gene. You just get used to that kind of God of Thunder demonic thing. So he's coming out with this kind of hard funk number, and it works.
Yeah,
you know, this is a cool song. I like it. It might drag a little bit at the end, but
very repetitive. Yeah. That's one thing about this record too. Like every chorus is like just repeats like endlessly.
Well, you know, don't bore us, get to the chorus kind of deal.
I know.
You know,
that's just.
But this
that's
does feel like
it
drags just a little bit. But you know, we go into the next track, which is "See You Tonight," and this is Gene at his Beatle best.
Oh yeah, definitely in my top 3. I love this song.
This is Gene's wheelhouse more than anything. And Sean Delaney made a comment on some of the research I found last night, how basically most of what Gene brought to the table were these demos of folk songs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure they're all very Beatle influenced, and this is one of them. I mean, you know, in this song, I think it's really great. It makes not a lot of sense. It's like he's got this kind of lyric idea that's kind of underdeveloped, but he doesn't have time to finish it, so we're just going to roll with it.
There is a line in that song I've never been able to understand.
Which is?
It's within like the first line. I was trying to think of it right before I said, "Don't have any doubt about
that fact."
It never sounds like he says that, because I've read that online, and it's like I try listening to it.
I've always heard it that way. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a line that's always sounded like mumble to me.
You know, I think part also what makes this work again is just the production, Sean Delaney's production, the string arrangement underneath it.
Yeah, so good.
And kind of, to me, also kind of reminds me in a weird way of, and this is still Beatle-y, it would be to a certain extent, T-Rex's Cosmic Dancer.
I can hear that.
You know, not. I'm sure maybe not even necessarily conscious inspiration or anything. I don't know if they were aware of it or to what degree, but it just, to me, it brings that up. There is a story, and probably apocryphal, but I like to think, you know, with mythology, rock and roll mythology, I like to just pretend that, okay, this is a true story.
Yeah.
And, you know, it may be. But it doesn't come from Gene, which is the only thing that gives it credence.
All right.
It's a Sean Delaney story. Whoops. And Sean Delaney made the claim that as they were putting this together, you know, the calls were being made for the special guests. And at some point, they were able to line up all 4 of the Beatles.
I know where you're going, yeah.
And they all agreed to do it with the caveat that they would do it uncredited.
I think I've heard this story too.
And at some point, one of them, I think Ringo, hedged and pulled out. And once the one fell, it was like a domino. They went, none of them made
And of course, that sounds like one of those stories where you go like, "Oh, sure."
So then they got
then they got the Beatlemania guys instead. Now, like I said, that may not be a true story, but I want to believe it's true.
Oh yeah,
And
I've heard a version from Gene that's pretty similar too.
And there's a point, Gene, of course. Well, of course, I talked to each one of them on the phone. They were my close personal friends.
Who's this band with
I
the
called
fire?
them up. I was like, John Lennon. Yes, hello. This is Gene Simmons.
Of Kiss.
Oh, you're the band with the fire and the blood.
Yeah. But I don't, it's probably a bullshit story, but I like to believe it. There's a little fantasy that I like to harbor in my head that once everyone's dead, it'll come out and then it'll be like, it was them actually, It'd be like, that's cool, because there's something
that's like what they had to say after all these years. Because again, remember, they couldn't be credited.
Yeah. So, but that goes to show just how large that shadow cast that the Beatles created. And that even if you're not a quote unquote Beatles fan or whatever, there's still some sort of desire for that to somehow exist. It's still, it's like the brightest star in the sky.
It's bringing validity to this little band Kiss.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but so much of what Kiss is and how they were and how they operated, was very Beatlesque in its own perverted way. Mm-hmm. The 4 individual members each having their own identity. All this is being illustrated here. But Gene had the moxie to actually try to get the fucking Beatles reunited. Maybe, but instead he gets the guys from Beatlemania, Mitch Weissman and I can't say the guy's name. But it's
every article I read, he just said the guys from Beatlemania.
Yeah.
So I never actually saw those names.
But Mitch Weissman, I believe.
Let's see, and then there's the founder is Lenny Colosino.
No, it was is it Mitch Weissman? Am I getting it right?
Yes, Mitch Weissman and Joe Pecorino.
See, I didn't want to say his name. So
you made me say it instead. Thanks. Yeah. And I was just gonna let it ride, but you kept asking. Now I had to say it.
Is Joe Pecorino here?
Hey, Joe Pecorino over here.
Hey, it's fucking Joe. It's Pecorino, you fucking But no, they pop up on this record and they do a really great job. And this song is such a great song. Underrated, overlooked. I mean, it's like the lyrics are a little kind of whatever, but it doesn't really matter.
I'll see you what tonight, and if I can, I'll cry.
I'll see you get it tonight.
I don't know. It just he mumbles.
But see, with Gene, I don't think it was like a lot of his lyrics. We've talked about this before. It wasn't even. It didn't have to be about anything. Get up, get your grandma out of here, huh? Or
well, that makes sense to me. Get the old fucks out of here. It's time for the young kids to have fun. It's just like,
what's this mean? The going blind thing. It's like I think it's just the absurdity, the kind of vagueness of a lyric. It's like, what's it mean? It doesn't have to mean anything.
I see you Getty tonight.
I'll get it.
It sounds like he says Getty. Like he kind of ends in
So, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think, Gene, it's not even about whether or not it has a literal meaning. It's just, it's better to have that kind of vague kind of,
I'm reading, You Won't See Me Without It, or something like that. You won't see
you won't see me. I'll see you get it tonight, and you won't see me without it.
So you get it tonight, yeah. I'll see you get it tonight. It's like,
what is it? What's he got? Well, probably his love. Whatever, it's still a cool song. I really like it. I think, I think it shows kind of a, I hate the word maturity, but it's definitely outside of Gene's normal wheelhouse of
Kiss,
of of the whole, plaster caster and whatever kind of,
But he goes right back to it with the next song.
Door, blah, blah. Yeah, but then as soon as we say that,
Tunnel of Love.
Gee, I wonder what that's about. I can't imagine. Tunnel of Love. And, when I was a little kid, I thought it was a ride. It was a ride. It just wasn't the ride I was thinking of.
I'll say this is the only song on this side I don't like.
I've always loved this song.
Really?
And I think part of it is the backing vocal on it, the chorus, the female vocal. I don't know who that is doing it.
It's probably Katie Seagal.
Maybe she's on. She's on this record. It also might be the girls from Rouge.
Yeah.
Desmond Child and Rouge. Now, Rouge, the girls on that are on this record doing background.
Is this the first time that whole Desmond Child and Rouge camp gets involved with the?
It may well be. It may well be. Actually, I don't. Actually, I think I got that wrong. I think the girls. It's on the Paul record. Rouge are. So I got to take that back. That's I screwed up on that. But when I was a little kid, I had a crush on this girl that went to, my parents were religious. I had to go to church every week. And there was this teenage girl that got up and would sing every once in a while, sing one of her little Jesus songs or whatever. And her voice was very similar to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had a giant crush on her. So that's probably what led me into my little 8-year-old heart palpitating for the 15-year-old girl that sounded just like that when she sang.
No, it does say Helen Reddy for background vocals on True Confessions.
On True Confessions. So on Tunnel of Love, I know that Donna Summer gets a credit as singing on that apparently, but that's not her on that chorus. I don't know who that is. But now we go to the lead guitar part on this. It's been credited to
Joe Perry,
to Skunk Baxter. But from what I can gather from all the research I did on this, it's in fact Richie Rano of Stars.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And that's a really raunchy guitar solo if you ever listen to it. I mean, especially at the end, it's like he's feeding into a wah pedal. It sounds almost like a gurgle at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I really love that. I think it's just a cool sound.
Oh, yeah.
And he's did multiple tracks and they mix it together so it weaves, like one goes into the other kind of a thing.
I always love little tricks like that.
Yeah, it's just a cool little thing. It's just a raunchy little, it's
raunchy guitar
it's
solo
got that kind of
song.
sweet, almost innocent Tunnel of Love background vocal, and then it goes into that that gnarly guitar in it, and it's just, I always liked this song. I just always have.
I think the part that just gets it for me is his part of the chorus, Tunnel of Love, Tunnel of Love.
That don't bother me. And when I was a little kid, the part where at the end there's the whispered, "Lock it up." But for years, I couldn't figure out for the life of me what were they saying there. I was a little kid. I was like, because we just could not hear anything other than "fuck a duck." Because when you're like 10 years old or whatever, it's like everything's got to be naughty, right?
Of course.
And we just insisted that they're saying "fuck a duck," like somehow that had some whatever meaning of some sort, like some subversion on,
Of course, just repeats endlessly on this one too.
Yeah. I mean, all of this, it's like, again, this is, as with all these albums, I think, with the exception of Aces, they all feel kind of like a little half-baked. They had these ideas of unfinished songs, and it's like, he's come to Sean Delaney with these demos, and we've heard a lot of these, and some of these demos are real short and unfinished, and you see that's been fleshed out. And I think maybe Sean Delaney had a big hand on this. I think it's part of why he was bitter, because I don't think this album could have been done without him finishing and fleshing out a lot of this stuff. That's my opinion. We can't say that for sure, but it just feels that way to me, knowing what we know about the demos and the short amount of time they had to do these in. Do we have any, I meant to get the information on this and I didn't. When was this stuff recorded? Do y'all know?
Let's see here. It says recorded April to July 78.
Okay. Well, in the midst of this, they're also doing the TV movie.
Yes.
So but the TV movie was filmed in May, so they've already started in April on this. So I imagine it's mostly April and then June and July.
Yeah.
So at some point, I don't know what point they're over in England doing this. Side 1 closes with the song True Confessions.
And this one's another on my my bottom.
Really?
3.
I really like this one. At first it started, when I was re-listening to it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this song. But dude, talking about the repetitive, by the time they smack you with the third time with that True confessions. You can't help but have a fucking good time. Like, I was genuinely enjoying that song. And something that I connected as a kid, because again, listening to this shit as a kid, his vocal melody is very similar to a Schoolhouse Rock song. It's called Interjections. You know what I'm talking about? The da 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 da. Because I had that VHS tape as a kid, and I remember hearing the Interjections song from Schoolhouse Rock and going, "That the melody in that sounds very similar to his vocal melody in True Confessions."
He just watching Saturday morning cartoons and fucking writing this album.
This song really seems to have a sort of retro quality in its arrangement. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's still modern, like a modernized version of, like, I don't know, some sort of Stax Records kind of thing.
Yeah.
The big soul vocals, the pumping piano. Mm-hmm. All his piano parts are always identical. You ever notice? It's always a guy named Richard Bear plays piano, I think, on maybe all of these. There's another guy that plays on this too. Somebody was talking about how those piano parts are really simple.
Oh yeah, it's just like
but that's what
Christine
he wanted.
16
he was very adamant that that's all he wanted. Yeah, the Christine 16, the same thing. It's that same piano kind of. Yep. There's no variation on it.
Yep.
But how about this lyric though? I'm not your social security. I'm not your star opportunity. Oh baby, you can have me absolutely. Just so awkward to me.
But won't you give me true confessions? You got to be honest.
Come
with
on,
Gene, man.
look. If you're trying,
you got to be honest with Gene, man. You got to give him true confessions, man.
Look, man. If you're trying to, if your argument for this song being in your bottom three is that line, I ask you to revisit.
It's one
I ask
of them.
you to revisit "Tunnel of Love," reread those lyrics, and re-examine your stance on this being your bottom three.
Oh, Tunnel of Love's in my bottom three too. But we also get another what the fuck moment in this song too with that. Oh,
yeah, that's a bizarre choral part.
I will agree.
Right in the middle. That's one of those things that feels like a Sean Delaney cocaine fueled. Yeah, man, we're gonna drop this right here. Yeah, this is great. And then of course you've got the kind of odd guest here, Helen Reddy. Hear her roar, singing "True Confessions," which. You know, does that make this a feminist anthem?
Oh, shit.
Gene Simmons. Feminist.
Ahead of the curb. But no, I love her vocal performance on it. Like,
is it her? I can't tell. I don't know.
Who the fuck ever it is. Yeah. I really, like, that was what sold it for me. Because, again, the verses, whatever, and as Cap pointed out, the pre-chorus is a little goofy. But by the time, they hit you with that chorus 2 or 3 times, and she's just belting that shit out. It's like, it's like I couldn't help but just, like, I'm like bobbing, like, listening to it in my earbuds. I'm like, yeah,
it's a good song. I mean,
it's the one part that I like in the song.
And this is another
vocals.
one that, now that I'm thinking about it, some of this still kind of strikes me as Seeger-esque.
Yeah, I can see it.
You know, it's like, Hollywood Nights or, something off of
some of
not Stranger in Town, but Night Moves. Maybe Stranger in Town too. I don't know, but that era,
where he was just on fire.
Yeah. Well, those two had been the perennial opening acts for everybody, and then they both broke through with kind of more mainstream success at the same time. More so Bob Seger than Kiss.
Yeah,
but they toured together too and played so much together. While while at the same time also going off and they've opened for I don't know they opened for each other, but Bob Seger certainly opened a lot for Kiss. But
Midwest in particular.
Yeah, well they So they had their trajectory had kind of fell in line with each other for a few short years in the 70s. And
Bob Seger's just doing co-writes all over the place too at this point.
So we flip the record over and we get...
You write me sexy letters.
Hold up. Hold up a minute. I agree, but that's what I'm getting at. This is my least favorite song on the record. I can't stand it. And what he was about to bust into with the fucking, I know you write me sexy letters.
No, it's, I know.
It's more breath. It's so breathy.
Sexy letters.
Send your pictures from my wall. It is the creepiest,
so cringy.
horrible thing he is. I will listen to.
So much for Gene Simmons feminist. Yes. You flip the song over and it's like, no, I know you're a creepy older man. And when I saw you coming out of school that day, I knew. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, no.
Leering,
Is this sexy?
Lascivious, gross. And it's fucking funny, though. It's funny.
I couldn't get the laugh
It's
out of
cringy.
it. I cringed so hard.
That's what makes it funny, you know? It's funny because it's not funny, you know? Sometimes that's the best humor. It's the shit
I'm
that...
living and saying.
And what's even weirder is they've noticed when you go into the second vocal underneath it, you got this weird backing vocal going, hoo ha ha.
Yeah. Hookah Choco.
Yeah,
Hookah
I was
Choco.
like, did they get that from, Blue Suede's Hooked on a Feeling?
That's what I'm thinking.
But that's what they're doing underneath it. And I never heard that for years and years and years. And then about 25 years ago now, 20 years ago, I was listening to the album on headphones one night and I heard it. It was more, more pronounced in my headphones. And that was the first time I noticed that. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
And then it's like you dig out the vinyl. It's like, is this just the CD version? Did they George Lucas this shit?
It's underneath it, whatever they're doing.
I do like that the phone call in the middle of the song is Cher
and Chastity Bono.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Now Chastity Bono was Sonny and Cher's little girl.
Yep.
Who is neither little nor a girl. Discuss.
This is a Kiss podcast, Russ.
She is now he is Chaz Bono.
Yes.
And but at the time this was, probably 8 or 10 years old here, and it's just playing. But it's mostly Cher acting like a
super fan or a groupie. Or
I want to know how that conversation went down, because in Gene's book, and every time he talks about Cher, it's the only, if you notice this, Cher is the only girl Gene will not talk like a pig about. He has never spoken about Cher in the way he does even Shannon.
Yeah.
Like, he'll talk about Shannon and be like, oh yeah, she fucking rocked my world. She'll do this, that, and the other. And like he kind of said it, like with all his other exes, he never goes into detail like that with Cher.
Because I think Cher was able to one up him, and for lack of a better way of putting it, she's probably the only woman that was able to like put him in his place, quote unquote, which he is certainly not used to.
So I wonder how that conversation went down. Be like, hey,
I think no matter where they were in their relationship, and at this point they're just starting to see each other.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, or all through their relationship, I think he always felt like she was the greater star, the greater,
He kind of even says that in the book.
Not wrong.
So he was always in second place to her and deferred to her, and he obviously loved her very much, and I think it was his first real great love. I don't think he had ever had something like that before.
So even with that in mind, though, the comedy in my head is written out this, like they're hanging out at the little penthouse that he talks about in his book, and he's like, hey, for my record, oh, you want me to guess? I don't want you to sing. I wanted to know if you could like call and like be a super fan. Well, what do you want me to say?
So I wrote out a thing.
Yeah, it's like that. That just feels like such a. It's like. Even my longest time girlfriend, that would, or like, anything, that would still just be the most awkward conversation to have. Be like, hey, could you be like a super fan for my album?
What's the song about? Well,
it's about groupies. You want to be a groupie?
Yeah, it feels
a teenage groupie of that.
Yeah.
And then
it's got to be a teenage.
It's 1978.
And then add on top of that,
because when I saw you coming out of school that day,
and then add on top of that, it's Cher, capital C, Cher,
or capital C, capital H, capital E, capital R. Cher was huge, y'all. I mean, Cher was like the it girl of the 70s.
Oh yeah,
and I mean, Cher was always the coolest woman in the room, you know. And it just
half breed, man.
Hey, dude,
she doesn't even talk about that song anymore. You need to quit bringing it up. You're more fascinated with that song than she is.
My whole thing is Cher 68 before she started getting the plastic surgery and stuff, and she still kind of got the
natural beauty.
Yeah, she was foxy, man. So, you know, high five Gene Simmons. But, you know, that song, I think it's intentionally silly. I think it's intentionally, you know, meant to make you kind of, yeah. So, but it's you know, living in a Holiday Inn. I can remember when Kiss came to Roanoke, Virginia in 1979, there was a Holiday Inn across the street from the Civic Center.
Kiss was there?
And, dude, it was just packed with kids thinking for sure they were going to get to meet them because of...
Not a goddamn Holiday Inn, y'all.
They were at the Hotel Roanoke. But whatever.
I think there was a Kiss commercial in the 90s where it's like some Kiss imposters were taking their gear off, and there were some reporters were like, "You guys aren't Kiss." "No, but we did stay at a Holiday Inn last night."
And they were living in...
living in copyright infringement.
Yes.
All right, listen, we got to keep this rolling because we're not being brief. No. Always near you, nowhere to hide. And
I'm middle of the road with that one. It didn't offend me, but at the same time, I don't like it. But I didn't listen to it and go, it's a stinker. It just bored me more than anything.
It just kind of goes on forever, too.
This is him trying to tap into his inner singer-songwriter. Mm-hmm. And I think this works for me. It succeeds to, Sean Delaney's production.
Yeah.
It's like... I don't know whose idea it was. Like, it seems like it's two songs stitched together that were like half ideas.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Gene put it together or if Sean Delaney put it, like if they were two different ideas that they were like, oh, we can put this together and make kind of a suite out of it.
Right.
You know, but it's got I like that chorus arrangement at the end, you know?
Yeah.
And it's,
where he starts flexing his vocal a little
and then,
too.
That I was going to say, but here you got Gene really going outside the box with his vocals, and more so than any other thing I can think of he's ever done. And he pulls it off. It's not like he's falling flat on his face with it. Mm-hmm. It's odd because it's of who it is.
Yeah.
In any other hands, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be the same thing. It's an odd song. Everything on this is odd. These songs are all odd. You know, I can't see any of these songs being like hit singles that would have connected with, like, you know,
even a yacht rock audience,
or just even just your average
Kiss fan.
You know, again, part of the appeal for any band to be successful is it's got to attract girls. Mm-hmm. And this isn't. I can see this is like an effort maybe to attract girls, but it's not. It's too fucking weird, and it's too weird to attract girls, and it's too. You know, it's too quote unquote lame to attract the dudes because they're not hard rockers. Mm-hmm. So this record kind of fails, I think, in that respect. But that said, I like this song. I do. I really liked it. But again, a lot of this goes back to like when I was talking about the Peter record. I've had these records since I was like, 6 or 8 years old or whatever I was. And, I've never not known them. And I don't know if I like them because I've just, because they're good or because I've just grown up with them and they're part of my... genetic makeup at this point.
Right.
Man of a Thousand Faces.
This just sounds like a bad 70s TV show theme song to me.
I've written in my notes, this song is stupid.
It is stupid.
Yet I love it. This is my favorite fucking song on the record.
Really?
And I know it's stupid. And I don't care. I embrace the stupidity. I wear it like a fucking robe.
It's not my top 3, but it would be my 4th. I do enjoy it.
I think, I like that horn section in it, and it has that line. It's funny when you're a little kid, it's like, I don't know what it is that taps into your psyche where you want to, anything that's like bad is like good, mm-hmm. It's like, oh, that's naughty. And that line about, well, no, it's like for me coming from a religious home, I guess it's just like, he says that part where he's like, the king of night, he understands. And I'm like, yeah, he understands. See, he gets it. It's like you feel alienated, you feel weird. Even at that age in elementary school, he's like, well,
Well, I like it because, like, just that one line of I make my own rules because I am a man of 1,000 faces. And it's like, being the comic fan in me, I was like, ooh, it's like, the Chameleon, the Spider-Man villain. It's like, ooh, he can just put on any face and, infiltrate shit. It's like, he does make his own rules. Beatles kind
but
of shit.
then, you know, from a negative side, you can just say, is this him admitting he's just full of shit?
The one time he does.
Is this that
For years, I live inside my dreams.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, but I just think it's a cool song. I've always liked it. I like the horn section in it. I like the flip on the vocal where he's doing like the Beatle vocal and then he does the Gene vocal.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then they do a weird vocal harmony change near the end, because he starts out doing the man of a thousand.
And then he swings it up.
He's a man. But it's him doing it too. It like almost in like
it's all him. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a cool little transitional thing.
Yeah, for me, it's just kind of like the last track where it doesn't offend me, but doesn't excite me either.
Yeah. I could see that, you know. Again, I don't know if I like the song because it's good or if it's just because it's a nostalgia thing for me. I suspect it's probably got more to do with it. Mr. Make Believe.
My other three. I love this song. This is right up there with See You Tonight with like, it's just, it works so well.
One of the few good songs on this side for me.
This is, to me, it's like Gene's default mode. When in doubt, Beatle. When in doubt, Beatle.
Yep. I love that. That choice of chord progressions too.
Yes,
it's grown on me over time. I think this could have enjoyed wider success in the hands of a more established singer-songwriter type, like maybe Elton John or something. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Because Elton John could tap into that Beatle thing a little bit too. And I don't know that maybe this wasn't even inspired by that kind of a songwriting approach.
It feels Beatles to me also, especially with like the pre-chorus, the baby won't you try, that whole and the harmonies they do.
All that just makes me just feels like Elton John to me.
Really?
I'm like, it's like it seemed like if I were in the studio, and he's sitting there chalking off his guest list, I would be like, hey, fucking Elton John, man. I think he would have fit right in on that. It would have fit him perfect. But let's keep it rolling here because we're running out of time. See You in Your Dreams, the retooled Kiss tune from Rock and Roll Over.
I like this version a lot.
Rumor has it, I don't know if you've gotten this one too, but the mythology behind this was that Gene did not like the way the end product sounded on Rock and Roll Over,
which is crazy because it's
the superior version.
Yeah, I think maybe it's different, but I think
the Kiss one is.
I do. I agree with that. But
there
I
are
like
things
the vibe
about
of this
this
one,
that I really like, though,
like the background vocals.
It's
and
the Rick Nielsen guitar solo.
Rick Nielsen plays guitar on it.
Well, okay. Just even the way the riff opens, it's more of a riff,
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the backing vocals. It's got that husky, soulful vocal. I'd like to see you. That's Michael DeBar.
Okay. I thought that was Gene for.
No, when I was a little kid, I just visioned this like big black soul singer. Like I was like, a big black woman was actually a little white guy from England.
Yeah.
Damn.
But that's just how powerful that guy's voice is.
Yeah.
And he's if you go back, people that may not know or are not familiar with Michael DeBar,
I'm somewhat familiar with him.
He was at that point he was in a band called Detective, who were on I think they were actually produced by Jimmy Page. They were on Swan Song.
Okay.
But the band for me was his band prior was a band called Silverhead.
Okay.
And really, really good kind of glam rock meets the Stones kind of thing, early 70s. And Michael DeBar just had that voice, man. He was kind of almost like
okay.
I'm having senior moments here.
No, I just got into Silverhead actually like a couple of months ago, something like that. And the wheels in my head started turning, going like, that Silverhead? And I looked it up on my Spotify. That Silverhead material fucking rules.
Yeah, it's really great. And he's kind of got like a Steve Marriott vibe, kind of vocal to him. I could see Steve Marriott doing the same thing here. And but then you also talk about the solo with Rick Nielsen, who
from Cheap Trick,
who had just famously they did their tour that kind of broke them in America, I think.
Yeah.
This is still pre at Budokan.
You're right.
So and this might be one of the earlier guest spots Rick Nielsen did, because he ended up doing a lot of sessions for a lot of different people, I think.
Right.
Most notably John Lennon.
Yep.
And, I never noticed for years and years and years that the first few bars of that solo is "When You Wish Upon a Star." I never caught that. Never. And then it was only been about 20 years ago where that hit me too. I was like, shit, how did I miss that? All my life, And then it was like, oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah. And in the song, I know we're going long, but he adds another verse.
Yeah, there's an extra verse on it too. Yeah, I love you, I do. Take me out. I don't think that adds to the song.
Think of me. Literally, the lines feel like he thought about it in the moment.
Maybe, but they wouldn't have been. They would had to have, had to have been tracked out that way. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the original had that line and he cut it when they did the Kiss one.
Maybe.
And I don't know though. But this is apples and oranges. Not really. It's really apples to apples, but maybe like a red apple to a green apple. I mean, I don't know. It's the same song, but it's really a toss up, and I guess it's kind of
different coat of paint.
Yeah. But I think I'm at the end of the day, I like the lead that Ace does on the original version better than the Rick Nielsen lead.
Yeah.
And that's not just only because it serves that version though. Mm-hmm. But I am partial to that.
That makes sense.
And now we get to the closing song.
The song that's supposed to wrap it all up, bring it on home.
Yeah, this is
this is like on the cover where Gene Simmons' face has got some blood dripping out,
red background, demonic face.
He's the demon.
But when you wish upon a star,
yes. Not even a re-record. They just grab essentially the movie version of the song, strip the vocal, and then they're like, "Here you go."
Is it not a new arrangement, a new recording?
I didn't see any info on a new arrangement. I know when he got folks together to do an 8-piece orchestra for "See You Tonight." But I never saw any mention about a new orchestral piece for "When You Wish Upon a Star." So I could have just maybe overlooked that.
Yeah, I don't see anything even on the... I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page.
And just the reason I'm thinking it's the original is there's so many familiar swells that I'm just going on that.
Yeah, okay, so there are symphonic arrangements from members of New York and Los Angeles orchestras, but you said it was probably for "See You Tonight."
They probably did this too, I would think.
Maybe.
I think had it been an existing recording, it still would have been credited thusly. I can't see them, not doing that, especially if it belonged to another company.
I mean the way it's kind of listed off, like you click the song and it takes you to a Disney wiki page.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm not sure. Either way,
here. This is my.
Let's go through that note.
What is it? What else do you need to add to this?
Well,
because I've got my notes for it, and I'll close with that. So I'm gonna let y'all inject what your opinions are of this.
I understand it for the story you're probably about to give.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a story.
Oh, okay. Well, I understand it because it's a callback to that's the very first song he heard when he got to America. It's the first song he learned in English. All this other stuff.
Exactly.
So understanding the history, I appreciate it. Before I understood his history, I thought it was the dumbest thing he could have done, and that's honestly my opinion.
Yeah, if I was a Kiss fan and found this, I'd be like, "What the shit,"
Yeah, well,
without the context.
This is what I wrote about it, and this kind of bounces off of what you just said. But in a nutshell, I get it, but nope.
Yeah,
I will skip this every single time.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, that album ends as the
See You in Your
bouncing
Dreams
out
tonight.
of "See Your Dreams." This still feels more like a Sean Delaney project than a Gene Simmons project to me. I think Sean was a great and underrated producer. I think he should have had a much better and brighter career than he did. I don't know how he got sideways on that. I'm sure that his own
demons,
proclivities
and drugs and things
probably
like that.
played into that. But at the same time, I think there might have been a negative connotation, particularly coming out of the Kiss thing, that it was like, oh, Kiss, like no one wants to work with that guy, which is not fair and not right, because that guy was so infinitely talented, so important and vital to to the success that this band had, as illustrated that Gene taps him to produce the record. That says a lot. And, they want to downplay a lot. It seems like they kind of undervalue what he brought to the table when you read about what they say about him now. And you look at it, though, it doesn't make sense.
Did a lot.
And I think,
so much work.
I think these songs fleshed out because of him, what he brought. I have a very hard time thinking that, who else could have done it? And I don't, and again, I'm comparing it to the work that he's done, like, again, on his own solo album, and it's very, very much a similar thing. I want to wrap this up real quick, just by noting Gene's record on the back has a thank you list, and it's huge, and there's some interesting names that pop up on this thing.
He's just name dropping like a motherfucker.
He is. Watch your toes, y'all.
Oh boy,
because he's dropping names. But I mean, some of it though. I mean, he's got the original Kiss crew in here. He's got Jan Uleski, who wrote one of their first big articles in Cream magazine. That I was on stage with Kiss in my Maidenform bra. I mean, he thanks their original manager Ron Johnson. He's got guys from Wicked Lester. He's got Van Halen. He's got Margot Hemingway. I wonder what that's all about.
Who's Margot Hemingway?
Ernest Hemingway's granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
And a supermodel was the late. Now she's the late. Sammy Davis Jr., Dinah Shore. I'm like, is this just because is he just picking names out of a hat, or does he have a reason? Sean Cassidy, Ted Nugent.
Look at me and my famous friends.
Steve Tyler and Sorinda Fox. He just lists as Sorinda. Stevie Nicks. He thanks Richie Wise and Kenny Kerner. Mm-hmm. He thanks Toady Fields.
Huh.
Who,
from the
talk
TV show.
Yeah. And of course, Dick Clark. He's dropping all kinds of names here. Larry DiMarzio, because
DiMarzio pickups.
Yeah, they were using his pickups. Robert Duncan, who was a writer for Cream and wrote the first book on Kiss.
That's what I love, that I can see the genuine appreciation for like all the magazines and those that supported the band throughout the the beginning of Kiss's career. Like, I can see a genuine appreciation for that, but he's also flexing like a motherfucker at the same time.
He's thinking Lou Lynette, who was the early manager, I think, before Ron Johnson. We get that kind of blurred there.
Yeah.
BOC, the Brats, the Harlots of 42nd Street, all the bands they played with in the day. I mean, this is a huge list. Mm-hmm. Rodney Bingenheimer, and of course he ends it with ... and mom.
Oh.
He loves his mama.
Yes.
So
it's a
Gene's record is, it's got this sort of, sense of personality to it, but it also at the same time has Sean Delaney's personality to it. So it kind of feels like it's got a duality. It's Gene's ideas, Gene's material, but it's been brought to life by the mad scientist that is Sean Delaney.
Yeah.
How do we feel about it overall? How do we feel about this record overall?
Like I said, though, that's kind of where I am. I just feel like, this is a very underrated effort from Sean Delaney. I think he's the guy that makes this record work.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's peak chart position. We were going to do this on all of them.
Yes.
I've got it as peaking at 22 on the week of January 6th, 1979, which was nearly 4 months after the original release.
Yeah.
So these records are kind of creeping into the charts, but they're
not
just
like making waves.
Not
really.
making big waves,
No.
And
but they shipped out 1 million of these anyway.
So that is
the fucking party. That is the whole, the very expansive party. That is the Gene Simmons album.
The Gene Simmons album. This one ran kind of long.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah. So hopefully y'all have enjoyed listening to this, and we're gonna I guess you got anything you want to add?
Nah, I'm solid, man.
All right. Well, this was episode C, and we're gonna see you later
On the D.
In your dreams
see
tonight.
you on the D
For the Paul episode.
the
Oh,
Paul-
God. This is
Jesus
already.
If you wake up with a star in your crotch, then it's been a good episode. So, all right, with that, stay tuned for Paul Stanley, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. Please insert another coin by supporting the show for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/somethinggoodnetwork.